The following program on KROC is sponsored and paid for by Meshbesher and Spence.
Where, look at this, the dynamic duo, Andrew Davick and Zach Bauer in the studio together again. It's the reunion tour.
It's shocking.
Yeah. Wait a second. Were you guys here together before?
No.
No.
This is it.
So
okay.
this is a first. Okay. Wow.
Might be a last.
Move papers so that you can see Zach.
Yeah, there were people that thought you guys were one and the same.
Well, I've never seen them together in the same place at the same time.
No.
So
I only see him at the office.
And you're not even sure if he works there.
I don't, he just keeps coming in.
And he thought the same thing about you. This is so weird.
Yeah.
I finally introduced myself.
So did you guys get into this business of law at the same time? I mean, you're obviously just about the same age.
We did. We actually went to law school together at Hamlin.
Did
So we were actually in the same section as well. So the way Hamlin does it, or did it, now they're combined with William Mitchell, I think, starting this next year.
Uh-huh.
We were morning, all day, or afternoon, and we were both in the all-day section. So morning wasn't for me in law school, and afternoon seemed too lazy. So
yeah.
And all day. It takes all day to learn what some of those people learn in the morning. Is that what you're telling us?
I think it came down to people not wanting to actually maybe have other jobs while they're in law school. Was that it?
Yeah, except Shayna didn't feel that way about my situation. She was encouraging me to work while going to law school. But
And Shayna is your wife?
Shayna's my wife.
Okay.
Yes. My better half.
So the impression that some people have, they see new attorneys or any attorney, is that he probably came from a wealthy family, and in order to keep up the wealthy name, you had to become an attorney in order to keep that money flow going so you could learn how to legally keep it. Not true?
Not true. I think the vast majority of people we went to law school with, I would say, came from working class families, middle class.
Took them the next 25 years in order to work out that debt.
It did. My mom was a teacher. My dad was a JCPenney's manager, and they helped put me through school and worked their butts off to get us there.
And now they say, my son the lawyer.
Yeah, my son the lawyer, exactly. They're probably, I'm not going to lie to you, they are probably sitting and listening right now to the show. They do enjoy KROCs.
They should be. And Zach, how did you decide to go to law school?
Well, it was kind of a decision made in part because I wasn't a huge fan of mathematics, and that was my initial major at Luther College, and decided one day that I didn't want to do it anymore, but thought I could probably read and write, so I decided to go political science and ended up in law school. And I would echo what Andrew said about, my parents were both teachers. So it's, certainly something trying to put yourself in a better position with your family and kind of be grateful for what they did for you.
It wasn't a fact that you read a John Grisham book a long time ago and said,
no.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool. I'd look like Tom Cruise.
No. My wife actually also influenced my decision. When I got out of undergrad, I took some time off. I was actually a head tennis pro at a club in Iowa. So I was teaching tennis. Really? I played tennis in college, and she strongly encouraged me to seek alternatives. I had taken the LSAT in college, and so she pushed me in a direction of getting an advanced degree. So
these guys are falling into the odd couple roles so much more every time I meet them and learn about them, because you were the tennis guy. I don't know if I've ever seen you wearing a tie. Zach has got the tie, and you were the number and accountant type guy.
Yeah.
It's just working out perfectly, actually.
I had long hair in college, and she made me cut that too.
Yeah, no lawyers should not have a man bun.
Before that first interview.
No.
Before that first interview. So how difficult is it these days to get into law school? Is it still obviously there's never seemingly a shortage of attorneys.
I think law school's maybe not quite as difficult. Well, probably the same to get into. I think the issue is now coming out and being able to have a landing spot. I know when Andrew and I both came out of law school, I think we were lucky enough to find a spot, based upon some of the hard work we had put in law school. But right now, those spots that are available for outcoming attorneys or outcoming students are a little bit more difficult to come by in some situations.
It's hard. A lot of the bigger firms have cut back, so they don't have the degree of hiring that they had even when we were in law school, and so it's a lot more difficult to find a job. You see a lot more people coming out of law school and doing, not practicing as a lawyer, maybe going into human resources or other areas of industry versus, practicing like we do, personal injury, criminal defense.
And you started at Meshbesher and Spence at the same time?
I started right out of law school. I clerked at Meshbesher up in our Minneapolis office, and Zach came down the road.
Yeah, I actually was a prosecutor when I came out of law school and worked at the Olmsted County Attorney's Office, and then
Overzealous prosecutor.
found my way to the
Again, odd couple.
found my way to the Public Defender's Office, and then have been in private practice since 2006 and joined Meshbesher in 2012. So Andrew and I were great friends in law school, and I put up with him still. So.
He doesn't socialize with me anymore. I try.
Well, there's a reason.
He is
for
going
that.
to the Lured PEM game on Friday. It's the first time I've seen him out in 3 years.
Wow.
No, honestly, it's the first time he's been out in 3 years.
Kids?
No, seriously. You need to get out more often,
What, you got a
Zach.
kid?
Yeah.
You got a kid or
I was gonna
relative
say,
playing in the game, or
you
what?
guys know, but you guys saw me out living at the history.
That's true.
Farm. So
I did.
So
I saw you out and with
take
other
that.
people too.
exactly. Just
Yeah, he
wandering,
was-
Some were related.
not
He
just
was at
wandering
a-
by myself.
Trust
Yeah.
me, they were all family.
He was at a history exhibit, Andrew, I'll have you know.
that doesn't surprise me. He's, probably a history minor
Yeah.
at Luther.
The character roles are very hard to switch around, I'll tell you that
Yes,
right now. On
yeah.
Halloween, you guys should swap and be each other, like a Freaky Friday kind of thing.
Yeah, some poor sap would end up in prison if I showed up at his hearings.
So is it, when you became attorney, was it everything you expected? Is it a little more difficult than you thought? You don't get a lot of court time, I'm sure. Most of it is done in the behind the scenes.
Zach spends a lot of time in court compared to myself. I mean, in the personal injury side, it's been a challenge. I mean, it's hard. You're dealing with people who have had bad things happen to them, and so obviously there are challenges that are presented with that. I mean, they're struggling, and you sometimes have to take on that burden. And one of the things about being a lawyer is you can't get away from it. I go home at night and think about what just happened, what's going to happen the next day, deadlines.
Well, somebody's always
limitations.
asking your advice.
Somebody's always asking advice, and that part of it, I like. I like the interaction. I mean, I'm a pretty social guy, so I enjoy that part of it and meeting new people. But he's got other challenges doing the criminal defense work. I mean, you're talking about people's freedom.
Yeah, I'd echo what Andrew said to some degree, that it's more difficult, I think, to some degree. I think you have to be kind of half social worker and half defense attorney, or in the situation of personal injury attorney. And I think the difference between some attorneys that we know, and as much as I give Andrew a hard time, the difference I think between what we do is that we genuinely care about our clients. And sometimes that's good, and sometimes it's taking stuff home that's a little bit more difficult to kind of deal with and having stuff weigh on your mind. But that's part of it, and that's part of the job, and that's part of the reason why I think we love it, to have great victories. But it's not all sunny. Sometimes there are days when it's just difficult.
You're wondering
because
why you didn't take that job at J.C. Penney's or
Absolutely.
But we have a tremendous staff. We should give them a shout out today.
I'm pretty sure they're listening on the radio, and that's why Zach just did that.
And they, like you said, there's always good people behind the person too, and we have a really good staff that helps us out with things. So a shout out to Anissa, Shannon. And
well, it's
Patty.
got to be nice also. I mean, you got a statewide reputable firm, too, that you've got their resources.
Been doing it a long time. Ron Meshbesher, who was one of the founding partners of our firm, obviously was sort of the prominent criminal defense lawyer in the 60s and 70s. He had, the Condon case up in Duluth and and many others. And so
Is he portrayed in the new play, the new musical?
No, but, I'm trying to think. The Coen brothers.
Good movie.
What was the movie? A Perfect Man?
Yes, The Perfect Man.
A Perfect Man. They filmed that in our Minneapolis office. All the law scenes were there, and they talked
Really?
about Ron Meshbesher as a family law lawyer, which he's not. I mean, he never was.
That's
but
funny.
Ron was a good guy, and he did a lot for all of us.
Who's Spence?
As Russ Spence. Russ retired. Wow. Russ retired in the mid-'90s. So Russ kind of started the personal injury side of Meshbesher and Spence, and had some, I think, health issues that kind of forced his retirement.
Well, if somebody's looking for an attorney and they would need to get a hold of you at Meshbesher and Spence, what's the number to call?
507-280-8090 or Zach's cell phone.
Or visit us online at www.meshbesher.com.
That's
All right,
Oscar
very
and
good.
Felix that you'll want to be
Zach
asking
and Andrew,
for.
thanks for coming in.
Thanks, guys.